Kia ora, tamariki mā, and welcome back to The Word. As time went on, God's rescue plan was put into action, and today we're going to hear about how a couple named Abraham and Sarah played their part. Abraham and Sarah had been married for quite a long time, and they really wanted to have a family, but Sarah was not able to get pregnant. They were already quite old, so I'm guessing that they probably thought that having a baby was never going to happen for them. But then God spoke to Abraham. He was like, "I've got a plan. I want you to take Sarah and leave here and travel to the place that I'm going to show you. I'm going to make you famous and you're going to have a family." Abraham was like, how's that going to work? We don't even have any tamariki and we're getting old. God was like, "Don't you worry about that. I've got a plan." Well, it can't have been an easy choice for Abraham and Sarah to leave all of their family and friends and head off on this new adventure. But they trusted God's promise and they trusted that He would provide for them. That's a good choice, right? So Abraham and Sarah moved from their home in Haran and headed to a land called Canaan. While they were still traveling, God reminded Abraham of His promise. God was like, "See the dust on the ground? Can you count it?" Abraham was like, no, I'd be counting forever. And God was like, "I will make your tamariki to be like the dust. There will be so many that you can't even count them all." Well, Abraham and Sarah believed in God's promise, but after a while they still had no kids at all, and they certainly didn't have as many as the dust on the ground, and now they were even older, like really, really old. It must have been hard for them to keep trusting God. And there were definitely times on their journey where they doubted Him and they thought that their own plan was a better idea. But God reminded Abraham of His promise. "Abraham, can you see the stars in the sky? Can you count them? Well, your whānau will be so massive that you can't even count them all." So Abraham made a decision to keep trusting God even when it was hard and even when it didn't make sense. He and Sarah waited again, and eventually, once Abraham was like 99 and Sarah was like 90, God spoke again and said, "By this time next year, Sarah will have a son." Well, when Sarah heard this news, she laughed. "You're joking, right?" she said. "I'm old. I can't have a baby now." Well, laughing at God's promise was not her best move. But Sarah was tired of waiting and had stopped trusting Him. The thing is, though, when God makes a promise, He always keeps it. So just like God promised, Sarah got pregnant, and the next year she had her baby, and they named him Isaac, which means laughter. Sarah was like, "God has made me laugh, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me." I suppose when you think about it, a really old lady having a baby would make you smile. So God kept His promise, and even though it seemed impossible, it was all part of His rescue plan. I can hear all of you thinking, "But that's just one baby, and God promised them like a gazillion." Well, Isaac grew up, and he got married and had a family, and then his children had children, and so on, until his whānau was so massive that everyone lost count. Just like the stars in the sky and the dust on the ground. God's rescue plan was in motion. As lifelong followers of Jesus, it's good for us to learn to trust God with both the big and the little things in our lives. A good place for us to start is by trusting Him with the small things And as we do this, we will find our faith grows stronger and we can start to trust Him with more. What could you trust God with this week?